There's an invisible line in the sky that no airplane should ever cross. Pilots call it the coffin corner. Scientists call it the death zone. And what happens when an aircraft enters this deadly region of the sky is so terrifying, it has killed hundreds of people in some of the most mysterious plane crashes in history. Today, I'm going to reveal exactly what happens when a plane flies too high, why the air becomes a silent killer, how passengers can lose consciousness in just 15 seconds, and the chilling true story of a flight where everyone on board died, while the plane kept flying for hours on autopilot like a ghost. Stay until the end, because what I'm about to tell you about altitude will completely change how you think about flying. The sky is not what you think. When you look up at the sky, it looks like one big empty space. But the truth is, Earth's atmosphere is divided into layers, and each layer has completely different rules. Commercial airplanes fly in a layer called the troposphere, usually between 30,000 and 42,000 feet. Above that lies the stratosphere, where the air becomes thinner, colder, and far more dangerous. But why can't planes just fly higher? Wouldn't it be safer above the weather, the turbulence, and the storms? The answer is one of the most fascinating and deadly secrets in aviation. The Coffin Corner explained. Every airplane has two critical speeds. There's a minimum speed below which the plane stalls and falls from the sky. And there's a maximum speed above which the air around the wings becomes so violent that the aircraft literally tears itself apart. At low altitudes, these two speeds are far apart, so pilots have lots of room. But as the plane climbs higher, the air gets thinner. The minimum speed rises, and the maximum speed drops. Eventually, you reach an altitude where these two speeds meet, where flying any slower causes a stall, and flying any faster causes structural failure. This terrifying point is called the Coffin Corner. Once a plane enters the Coffin Corner, there's almost no room for error. A slight gust of wind, a tiny mistake, and the aircraft can lose control instantly. Many pilots have died trying to push their aircraft beyond their limits. The air becomes a killer. Here's something that will shock you. At 40,000 feet, the air outside your plane is so thin that if you were suddenly exposed to it, you would have only 15 to 20 seconds of useful consciousness before passing out. This is called the time of useful consciousness, and it's the reason oxygen masks exist. At cruise altitude, the cabin is artificially pressurized to feel like you're at about 8,000 feet, comfortable for breathing. But if the cabin loses pressure for any reason, the situation becomes deadly within seconds. If you're learning something new, hit that like button and subscribe. What comes next is the most disturbing part of this entire story, the ghost plane that killed everyone. In 2005, a Boeing 737 belonging to Helios Airways took off from Cyprus heading to Athens. It should have been a routine flight, but something went horribly wrong. A maintenance error left the cabin pressurization system on the wrong setting. As the plane climbed higher and higher, the cabin slowly lost pressure. The passengers and crew didn't even realize what was happening. Hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, is silent, painless, and deadly. It feels like falling asleep. By the time the plane reached cruising altitude, everyone on board was unconscious. The pilots had passed out at the controls. The autopilot kept flying the plane on its programmed route, completely empty of conscious life. When Greek fighter jets intercepted the aircraft, they saw a horrifying sight. The captain's seat was empty, the co-pilot was slumped over, and oxygen masks dangled from the ceiling. One flight attendant who had used a portable oxygen tank was the only person still alive, but he didn't know how to fly. The plane circled Athens for hours until it ran out of fuel, then crashed into a mountain. All 121 people on board died. It's one of the most haunting stories in aviation history. The cold that can kill instantly. Altitude doesn't just take away oxygen, it also brings brutal cold. At 35,000 feet, the temperature outside your plane is approximately minus 65 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 54 degrees Celsius. That's colder than the coldest natural place on Earth. If you were exposed to that air, frostbite would begin in less than a minute. Your skin would freeze, your lungs would burn, and the moisture in your eyes would turn turn to ice. This is why no human can survive outside an aircraft at cruise altitude without specialized equipment. What about higher altitudes? Some military aircraft can fly much higher than commercial planes. The legendary SR-71 Blackbird spy plane could cruise at over 85,000 feet, 3 times higher than a commercial jet. At that altitude, pilots had to wear pressurized spacesuits, similar to astronauts, because any cabin failure would mean instant death. Even higher up, at around 62,000 feet, you reach a place called the Armstrong limit. Above this altitude, the air pressure is so low that water in your body, including your blood, saliva, and the moisture in your eyes, starts to boil at normal body temperature. Without a pressure suit, you would die in seconds in the most horrifying way imaginable. Why modern planes are so safe? Despite all these dangers, commercial flying has never been safer. Modern aircraft are equipped with multiple redundant systems. Automatic oxygen masks deploy the moment cabin pressure drops. Emergency descent procedures bring the plane down to safe altitudes within minutes. Pilots are trained extensively for hypoxia scenarios, and aircraft are tested rigorously to ensure they never approach the coffin corner during normal operations. The chances of dying from an altitude-related incident on a commercial flight today are virtually zero. You are millions of times more likely to die from a car accident on the way to the airport than from anything that happens at cruise altitude. The truth about the death zone. So why do planes fly at 35,000 feet instead of higher? Because that altitude is the perfect balance. High enough to save fuel, avoid weather, and cruise smoothly, but low enough to stay far away from the deadly coffin corner above. Pilots, engineers, and scientists have spent over a century learning these limits. Every safety rule in modern aviation exists because someone somewhere paid the ultimate price to teach us how the sky really works. The sky is more dangerous than most people realize, but also more amazing. The death zone is a reminder that for all our incredible technology, nature still sets the rules. And every time you board a flight and reach cruise altitude safely, you're benefiting from over 100 years of hard-won knowledge. Tell me in the comments, did you know about the coffin corner before this video? What other aviation mysteries do you want me to cover next? If this video blew your mind, smash that like button and subscribe, because next time, I'll reveal the secrets of what really happens inside the cockpit during a major emergency. Thanks for watching. See you in the skies.